Peasants. They stink, take up precious land and resources, and are a general nuisance to the greater ruler, Eugenus. The only thing worse than peasants are zombies, and oh boy are there tons of them. Diplomacy is not an option is releasing out of early access, and the developers over at Door 407 were kind enough to reach out for an early 1.0 preview key to allow me to explore and play through some scenarios. The game itself is a giant real-time strategy game where you start off as a small colony of nobodies, and through the power of extortion, taxation, and Salem witch trials, you can build that colony up into a successful kingdom. The full game has a campaign that takes around 70 hours to complete, a ton of challenge modes, an endless survival mode, and a sandbox setting, which is where we're going to spend our time today. See, originally, I was going to play through the campaign and make a video on that. But while I was perusing the sandbox settings, I discovered a map that only has zombie enemies, and since that's kinda my thing, I figured why not dive right into that. So here's the challenge. There's 3 nightmare generals on the map. I'm giving myself 100 days to learn the game and take out all 3 generals. It's admittedly a pretty simple challenge, but I figure it'll be a great way to showcase the game and have some fun with it without sweating my dick off. So let's get to it. The first thing I did on day 1 was pause the game and add 2 berry picker houses, 2 lumber mills, some houses for the peasants, and 2 more builder huts. There's some enemies close by, but the main focus was just to get everything up and running today so that we could survive the initial starter days. Moving into day 2, I took 5 archers and 5 swordsmen, and made my way over to one of those nearby enemy camps. Honestly, I wasn't sure what to expect here, so you can imagine my surprise when I walked into like 100 demon spawn things. They're pretty weak, but there's still a shit ton of them, and the fighting lasted for several days, drawing my full attention. After destroying their starter camps, I noticed 2 larger enemies in the distance, and being the dumbass that I am, decided to just charge in with my peasant archers, leading to an absolute slaughter. Immediately after that, I went back to my castle and built out a barracks to start recruiting more soldiers. Of course, as I was building that out, I found another nest right next door to my kingdom, so I sent out my second squad to deal with them. Over the course of day 5, I destroyed 2 more nests before falling back to the first aid tent so my soldiers could recover. Day 6 was the start of our first major project, building a secure border. See, we're constantly being attacked by these demon ghost things, and not only are they annoying to deal with, but they're actually starting to do some damage to our community and bringing down the property value. So my solution was to just build this giant wooden wall, throw up a few gates, and then put guard towers at the corners. Moving into day 7, my armies encountered their first zombies while out on patrol. Since they're still hanging out around my kingdom, I sent both patrols out to try and wipe out that nearby faction again.
Our troops are under attack.
As we pushed further in, I came across my first boss, a Nightmare General. This thing. The demon defenses also include catapults, which were too much for my troops. Even the summoned witchcraft soldier guys couldn't handle it, so I left them to die and pulled my archers back behind our walls. Days 9 and 10 saw more fighting around the perimeter of our kingdom as we looked to add more fishing huts to the nearby pond. These nests are everywhere, and they're a pain in the ass to deal with, but it's gotta be done if we want to keep expanding.
Our troops are under attack.
As we encountered camps that we weren't able to destroy, I would simply build walls around natural barriers, like mountains, to keep the enemies out. It's starting to feel like we're constantly fighting zombies near the stone mines though, so I want to look at upgrading my town hall so I can get some stronger troops and continue pushing out. To do that though, we'll need more builders, which means more houses so we can keep recruiting peasants. On day 12, we built a simple obelisk to unlock the Astral Ray spell. It costs about 5 soul crystals to cast, and we only have 6, so we'll need to start hoarding some more of those. So far, I've only been able to collect them by destroying those nests, but hopefully there's another way. Days 13 and 14 saw more expansion. I found 3 more stone nodes near some mountains, so I sent out a group of archers to deal with the nests in the area, while I built out another lumber mill, 3 stone mines, and another gate to keep the enemies away. At this point, I've got all the resources I need inside the walls to get me to Town Hall level 1. So I switched focus to stockpiling more resources and building out some more houses. Our kingdom continued expanding through days 15 and 16, with us adding multiple houses, storages, and another fishing hut, and some more berry pickers, all culminating with us finally upgrading our town hall to level 2 at the end of day 16. Those upgrades finished up going into day 17, and with our town hall now level 2, we can upgrade all of our other buildings, such as our barracks and our houses. This should give us a larger population to work with, and gives us the ability to recruit stronger troops. Now instead of peasant swordsmen and archers, we can recruit crossbowmen, healers, spearmen, and axe warriors. We also have the ability to add things like a fountain, which allows our houses to hold 1 extra person each. Day 18 saw us upgrading all of our lumber mills and stone mines to produce more materials at a more efficient rate. Something cool finally happened on day 19, and by that, I mean I got to use my God Beam Death Ray thing. The only problem was that I had no idea how to control it, so I ended up slaughtering most of my soldiers in the process. This is gonna take some getting used to, but it'll be lethal once I get the hang of it. Day 20 was a pretty big day for us. Not only did I start upgrading all of my houses and storages, but I even began adding more houses into the mix to continue growing our kingdom. With the builders hard at work, I went ahead and summoned another small army using some new warriors, such as the axeman and the healer. With that group, I continued clearing out the nests in the area. The fighting continued throughout day 21, and we were able to clear out 2 more nests before overstepping and losing all of our axemen to a larger horde in the distance. Their noble sacrifice wasn't for nothing though, as we were able to add both iron and stone mines in the newly claimed territory. I can't just keep adding walls and gate at every crossing though. So I went with a broader approach of throwing down guard towers in the open areas, and assigning archers to said towers in order to better protect the farmers and builders. Moving into day 23, I built out a farm to deal with the fact that berries aren't sustainable and we're starting to catch all of the fish around us. Farms are a bit weird in the fact that it's not just one building, but rather one building and an additional 5 plots of land that are assigned as fields to work. I wasn't aware of this because I did absolutely no research before going into this, so it does look a bit ugly, but I did manage to keep most of the berry bushes in the area to continue foraging. I also went ahead and added 3 more stone mines. Day 24 was all about aggressive expansion. I need more men so I can grow more food because we're constantly running out, but to do that, I need land, so I amassed another army and began steamrolling through some more horde nests. In that plot of land between those 2 guard towers I built earlier, I started adding the setup for a neighborhood. There needs to be 1 tile of space in between the houses, otherwise the builders and workers get stuck or trapped between them. So this portion is going to look a lot nicer than when I started. Of course, this was temporarily cut short when the city was attacked by more zombies on day 25. Once they were dealt with though, I added 2 more houses and another farm close to the town hall. There's an unexplored area next to the first set of houses I made all the way back at the beginning that I'm sure there was a nest at, so I sent a detachment of soldiers over there to deal with that as well. This took all of day 26 and into day 27 to wrap up, but it was worth it for the extra safety.
This is going to be fun. They are attacking the wall. This is going to be fun.
At this point, I could have just mobbed more axemen and archers, but I slowed down here and went ahead and built a stable and engineers guild. This unlocks the ability to make cavalry, horse archers, and catapults. On day 28, I completed my first trade, 100 stone for 5 gold coins. There's actually a pretty cool animation where you send off the zeppelin to deliver the goods, and when it comes back, you get your gold. Outside of that though, I crafted my first few catapults and cav units. While I waited for those troops to finish up, I went ahead and recruited some more crossbowmen and spearmen, giving me a full-fledged army to command. It ended up taking the rest of the day to recruit all of my units, but by the end of day 29, our forces were ready to march. It was time. And by time, I mean time to retreat. We didn't stand a chance, and the general was literally just one-shotting most of my men before we even had time to do anything. By the end of day 30, we lost most of the army, making it back behind the gates with just 5 cavalry, 2 healers, and 1 catapult. While waiting for my forces to recover, I started sending out the horse archers to start weakening any pockets of enemies nearby. We are dealing with a famine now, mainly due to the size of the army, but I'll be damned if we have to be weak just so a few peasants don't go hungry. On the bright side, we can use said army to clear more areas for fishing huts and farmland, so that was the focus of today and day 33. At one point, I overextended again and found myself getting slowly picked apart by catapult fire. While I tried to rally my troops, we were simultaneously attacked from the other end of the kingdom by zombies. so I sent my horse archers back to assist with that.
Our fortifications are under attack.
With both issues resolved, I added some catapults to my army and prepped for an attack on the enemy camp. This ended up taking all of days 34 and 35 to fully amass a new army, but on day 36, we were finally ready for battle. Well, sorta. I basically spent the entirety of day 36 forming groups and organizing my soldiers now that everyone was finally at the rallying point. Which means day 37 was the big push. Everything went pretty smoothly here, and we took the camp in less than half a day.
Our units are in combat.
The problem with grouping everyone up, though, is that it leaves the rest of your kingdom open to counterattacks. Luckily, I have my horse archers who can travel fast as
Our fortifications are under attack.
The fallout was pretty bad. We lost several walls, but more importantly, we lost 2 full tier 2 storage areas, resulting in hundreds of stone and planks getting wasted. With that settled though, I found a second general in the eastern portion of the map. It's incredibly difficult for me to lose aggro on it though, so I sent my catapults off to die as a distraction to let my troops escape.
Yes. Our troops are under attack.
With a successful retreat, I think I have a plan. The goal is simple. Get Town Hall to level 3, push research on stables, and upgrade my horse archers. I should be able to get 2 groups of them and just kind of kite the general around in circles while we do damage to him. I gave it a try with a small amount of troops, and I think I can pull it off if I have the supporting cast to hit the general with. Nothing too crazy happened over the next few days though. I added some more stone mines and 2 more farms, as well as another wall, but outside of that, it was pretty quiet. The next action event happened on day 43, when I moved one of my armies into 2 more nests. I do feel like I can kinda steamroll most of the enemies, with the only exception being those generals, but I think once I get some more upgrades in, I can start taking them out as well.
This is going to be fun.
I finally got around to upgrading my town hall to level 3 on day 45, and wrapped it up on day 46. With our town hall fully upgraded, it was time to begin mass upgrades on all of our current equipment, starting with our storage facilities and barracks. With the barracks now at tier 3, I can now recruit Vanguard soldiers. These dudes are massive, with one dealing AoE damage and the other being completely safe from arrow fire. The only downside to them is that they cost 1 gold each to make, in addition to some other resources, making them incredibly expensive to produce. I spent all of day 48 moving soldiers into position for the fight on day 49. The plan for today was to simply create a massive piece of land that I could use for farming. My plan was to place down like 3 or 4 farms in one spot and then put a few archers around the perimeter as guards, which should hopefully take care of the food situation. This all kinda worked out perfectly. As we pushed into the demon nests, I would drop farms down, and by the end of the day, 2 more nests were wiped off the map, and we'd place down 3 additional farms.
Our troops are under attack. The axe is excited. This is going to be fun.
This continued into day 50 as well, until we got too close to another camp and took a few catapults to the face. Side note, I love how the soldiers just kind of ragdoll after they get hit by the catapults. It's so funny to watch to me. Once the fighting wrapped up, I changed pace for a bit and built out a university, something I'd unlocked after reaching Town Hall level 3. Each university speeds up research by 5%, so not great on its own, but if you build like 3 or 4 of them, you can fly through some of these. Speaking of research, I can finally begin learning alchemy, which I can use to harvest soul crystals, those things that you spend on magic spells. While I waited for that to finish up, I went ahead and upgraded all of my farms to level 2, which gives you 2 more workers per farm, and takes 23 seconds per food instead of 25. As it turns out, those alchemy tower things need to be built on top of blue glowing rifts found in the ground, so I'll need to be on the lookout for those. Day 53 saw most of what was left of my army get decimated by more catapults after stumbling upon another camp.
Let's go shopping.
I think my kingdom is sitting pretty good at the moment, so I began upgrading all 17 of those houses that I made in the neighborhood, so that I could change focus and begin building another massive army. Day 57 saw us rallying our troops and hitting that camp again that had almost wiped us out a few days ago. This was arguably the largest one we'd hit so far, but it really does feel like as long as we have a ton of archers or crossbowmen, it doesn't really seem to matter how many enemies there are. After pushing through 2/3 of the camp, I finally found one of those blue glowing rifts, which means we can farm up some soul crystals here. Before we get the chance to do that though, we're gonna have to recruit some more soldiers and come back because we were finally overwhelmed after getting way too greedy here.
Getting too old for this.
Day 58 was the biggest and probably the stupidest expansion project I'd ever attempted. Not only did I upgrade another 10 houses or so, but I added an additional 21 tier 3 houses just outside of my main walls. That alone more than doubled my population, at the cost of most of our stockpiled resources.
The city is under attack.
By the end of day 61, I'd begun upgrading my engineers guild so I could start crafting better siege equipment. This took a decent portion of day 62 to complete as well, but I wasn't worried. At this point, I've got 305 free workers, which means if I do this right, I can build an army of like 300 soldiers, give or take. Not really though, since I need some more farms to deal with the rampant population growth, but oh well. To compensate, I built out 2 more farms in the north. By day 65, I was losing hundreds of food per day and was on the verge of another famine. So, thinking on my feet, I went ahead and bulldozed a ton of peasant houses, leaving 120 people homeless. Not to worry though, see, I could easily build a Skid Row section for these stinky bums, but I'd rather weaponize them. It just seems like that'd be a bit more exciting.
Yeah.
So, here's what I started doing. It took a full 5 days to prepare for this, but on the morning of day 70, I was ready to face off against one of the Nightmare Generals. My plan was simple. Use one of the horse archers to distract it and kite it around while I got my suicide bombers into position. Oh, did I mention this game has suicide bombers? Well, they do, and they're fucking sweet. But yeah, after those go off, I have spearmen, axemen, archers, and healers on standby. Behind those men, I have 4 ballistas, and as a last resort, 14 of those big-ass hammer guys and foot knights, just in case. All of that setup, just for the fucking thing to get the jump on me and completely squad wipe me. This was incredibly frustrating because it took literally 5 days to build out and organize all of these troops, just for this thing to aggro right before I attacked. To make matters worse, my bombers exploded all 4 of my ballistas, so I never even stood a chance.
Ready. Here goes your order. That is your wish. The city is under attack.
Over the next few days, I spent most of my time defending the kingdom from various zombie assaults, mainly stemming from all of my troops getting wiped out. This was a pretty big pain in the ass because every once in a while they'd space out, so there'd be like 10 different zombies attacking structures, but they'd all be single zombies in different regions, so I'd have to command individual units to go take care of them. And if that wasn't the case, it was these large hordes smacking against the walls. While I was in the process of rebuilding my army, that same general from earlier decided to attack my kingdom, destroying several farms and granaries while I scrambled to get my forces over to defend. It came at the cost of a few dozen civilians, but I was finally able to bring it down after bombing it twice before it could reach the residential district. While prepping to take on another general, I went ahead and built a great obelisk, which unlocked access to summon big-ass rocks from outer space and hurled them at my enemies. On day 78, I rallied my forces and set out to fight the second general. This time, I actually got to use my plan. 2 full sets of archers, separated by a line of ballistas, with explosive barrels charging into as available. I lost all but one of my soldiers, but was able to take out the second general in the process, meaning there's only one left on the map. On day 81, after recruiting some additional soldiers, we pushed back north and cleared the area for some more blue rifts, so that I could finally start farming soul crystals.
The city is under attack. Yeah.
On day 91, after 10 days of building my army, we finally set off to find and kill the last Nightmare General. This army is built entirely around steamrolling the enemy. It's got a full set of spearmen, a full set of axemen, about 30 archers, and several healers. I kept the ballistas back as well so that they wouldn't be damaged by any enemy catapults. Hell, even in the worst instances where the fight wasn't going perfectly, I had enough soul crystals now to summon any spells I wanted at will, destroying the enemy structures before they could organize. And while all of that was going on, I was constantly churning out more soldiers back at the kingdom, so whenever we were weakened, we could just fall back and wait a day or two for reinforcements to arrive, before continuing forward yet again.
Perfection. Beware of your wishes.
Our troops are under attack. Our units are in combat. Aye, sir. Our units are in combat. Our troops are under attack. Ready.
With the final general cornered, I got my troops into position and sent a scout out to locate and bait him back. The goal is much the same. Send my explosives in first and hope they do enough damage that I don't have to burn through all of my soldiers in order to win the fight.
Reporting. As you say, boss.
I'm the fire starter. I'm the bomb. One. Bringing the party. Twisted.
And just like that, we did it. With 3 days to spare too. Diplomacy is not an option is a shit ton of fun to play. This was just a made up challenge out of sandbox mode, but Like I said in the beginning, the campaign has around 70 hours worth of content in it, and that's not including all of the challenge scenarios the game throws at you, or the Endless Waves mode. If you're interested, the link to the Steam page for this game is down in the description, and I highly encourage you to at least give it a try if you like strategy games similar to Age of Empires or Manor Lords. With that though, I'm gonna get out of here. Thanks again to Door407 for sponsoring this video, and thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate you all. Go call a loved one, and thanks for stopping by.